Booking now, the Got Soul Tour. Hilda Lamas and the Hilda Lamas Band establishing a legacy of musical respect.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for the very first episode of SocialByteCC.com's Entertainment Edition. Today we have a very special guest in Hilda Lamas Garcia. She is the queen of Latino soul. Hilda, how's it going?
Oh, it's going pretty good. How are you, David?
We're doing good out here. Just wanted to, get into a little bit of a conversation about the things you're doing here in the Corpus Christi area, and if you could just give us a little bit of background, a little history about where you've been and how you've gotten into the music industry, and kind of the reason you've chosen the soulful genre.
Well, it all started in a little Baptist church in Aransas, South Texas. My mom always had all of us up there singing as part of the choir or just different specials in church, and it was always a lot of my mom playing the piano, and all four of us, it's three of my sisters, including myself, and we would all sing special music at church. And that's where it all basically started. From there, it just kind of grew, and by the time I was in high school, I had my very first paid gig singing at a wedding for a really good friend of mine. And from there, I just, I knew, okay, at 14 years old, it was just one of those things, I wanted to be in the business, and I wanted this to be my life, not just a job, but an actual career, and make a difference. When I first moved to Corpus, it was back in 2001, I initially moved for college, and I remember I told my mom, I said, I really want to just be in music, and I want to be able to sing, and she told me, oh, you can't make a living out of that, you need to have something to fall back on. And so went to college as pre-med, and about, I would say halfway through my second semester, I was bored. And I started to dabble and take a few music classes in college, just some piano classes, and even took, a little voice class. When the piano teacher found out that I was actually very skilled on the piano already, because my mom had us in lessons, probably since I was 5 or 6.
Yeah.
She actually had to barter with me and said, look, I'll let you take my class, because it was beginning piano.
Mm-hmm.
And it was supposed to be for anybody who had no experience at all.
Right.
And she said, I'll make a deal with you. If you switch your major and become a music major, then I will let you get the credit for this class. So, of course, I did that in a heartbeat, and I became a music major. And it was, it was very interesting because it was very regimented, and I actually got bored with it. Mm-hmm. Because it was a lot of bookwork. You have to sit in classrooms and learn different things, which is all fine and dandy, but I am more of a hands-on person.
Yeah,
there wasn't enough performing.
Right, it was more like music theory and history and that sort of stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I got very bored with it. I mean, I'm sure that, some people find it very interesting, but I wanted to be on the stage, and I wanted to actually be performing. Mm-hmm. And in college, you get maybe 2 or 3 chances to perform, and that's usually at your recitals at the very end of the semester.
Yeah.
So I kind of took a break from school, and right when I decided to take that break, I had already, probably about a year after I moved off to Corpus, I had met Rick Garcia with Hacienda Records. Mm-hmm. And I had already been doing a little bit of studio work for him. And I was still going to college, and actually he had employed me part-time to be the janitor for Hacienda Records. I'd come in and roll up chords after sessions, and I just wanted to be around it. Mm-hmm. And so right around the time that I'm getting ready to take a break from college, I was working at Circle K at the time, right by the university. And I was really just at a dead end. I was like, okay, I'm not happy with school. I want something different, but I don't know how to get there. Mm-hmm. I got a call from Rick, and he says, hey, I've got some old buddies of mine here. They've got a band, and they're looking for a singer. He said, I want you to come and audition. They're only going to be here for about another hour. So I was like, okay, and I got all excited, and I talked to my manager, and I said, I'm going to have to leave because I've got this audition, and I just have to go and do it.
Yeah.
I had just been recovering from strep throat, so my vocals were not where they needed to be. But I went, and I was completely unfazed. And I went in, and I auditioned, and I got the job.
Wow.
And that was in 2005, actually 2004. And it was really cool because I'd never, ever been with a band before. I'd always been to karaoke bars, stuff like that. And so, you know, we started playing, and we had long rehearsals. I mean, we would start from 11 a.m. to 11 o'clock at night sometimes, just getting a full 3-hour set down.
Yeah.
And what was really cool about it was we had to go ahead and start gigging because they already had shows on the books.
Wow.
And so we had to just go in there with an hour set, and I would open up for Rocky Benton because he would help fill the shows for us.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And so if anybody knows anything about Rocky Benton, I mean, he was the blues guy. I mean, he was just awesome.
Yeah.
And I'd never really sang blues before in my life. I was raised on gospel and Motown, but I really didn't know anything about the blues. Well, just by opening up for Rocky, we got to sit in between sets, and we would talk, and he'd be like, okay, well, you have to do this, and you just got to feel the blues. And, you know, it was just so awesome because for a good year and a half, that's how it was, you know, and I can honestly say I got a lot of tutoring from Rocky Benton, and it was just awesome.
Yeah.
I'd say I was spoiled in my first experience with the band because, I mean, I was playing with guys who had been on tour with Sam Neely, who had done really awesome things in the Tejano music circuit and played with a lot of the really big acts. And they were just all friends, and they got together doing the band, and I got to sing, and it was awesome. Yeah. But, you know, like everything, eventually you come to a point to where you've outgrown where you are. And so, you know, I wanted to go a different direction, and they wanted to go to a different direction, and we just weren't on the same page musically. And so I left.
Now, were you still? I mean, your sets were pretty much rhythm and blues completely at this time.
At that time, we were doing a little bit of Motown, a little bit of rock. Okay. And it was fun. It was definitely a learning experience. I had no stage presence. I would stand up there, I would sing a song, and at the very end, I would be like, "Thank you," and that was it. Nothing else. And my drummer would always say, "You need to talk to the people. You need to get them involved and interact with them." And I was just like, "Yeah, okay." And I didn't know how to do that. I had never seen anybody do it. Yeah. So I would just stand up there, sing a song, and say thank you, and that was about the extent of my stage experience. So when I left them, I was signed with Hacienda Records, and we really didn't know what direction we were going to take it in. I started a new band, and we actually started with Latin rock. Okay. It was a Spanish label, and they were like, hey, you know, we don't want to put you in Tejano, but it has to be in Spanish, and we didn't have the instruments that we needed for the pop version, so we said, hey, let's just do some Latin rock, and let's go for it.
Like the Maná sound, or, you know, that sort of thing?
Yeah, kind of more like that. Not as sweet, but, you know, a little heavier, like almost 80s rock, just in Spanish. Okay. So we started throwing things out in the air, just saying, okay, let's try this or let's try that. And from there, it was kind of interesting because we did a few shows doing Latin rock, probably about 6 months worth. And I released my first single, which was All Right Now. It was that old Free song. And we put a little bit of some trumpets, some horns, made it a little Spanish sounding. And then we got Pio Trevino from Magic. Awesome songwriter and singer in his own right. And he did a translation in Spanish. So that came my first single, Que Guapo Estás. And that actually did fairly well. It charted number 3 in the Washington charts, which was really awesome. And it kind of broke me into the whole Latin scene a little bit, at least in, you know, the United States. So from there, we just kind of kept performing, and I remember being at the Tejano Music Awards Fan Fair in San Antonio. And I never really felt the rock. I did it because I was like, oh, it was fun, but I never felt it. Yeah. And So here we are in Market Square, and
About what
I
year?
do my first.
About what year is this?
This is, it's probably 2005,
Okay.
2006 now.
Okay.
And so by this point, I'm just, I'm up in Market Square, San Antonio, and we're doing, we've done two sets that weekend.
Mm-hmm.
The first set we did the whole Spanish rock, and I did it, and I noticed, well, the people weren't really into it.
Yeah.
So we do our second set, we start it, and we do the first rock song, and again, I'm noticing the crowd is just leaving.
Mm-hmm.
And so I turned around to my guys, and I said, you know what, do chain of fools.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, I'm just irritated. So we turned around, and they were like, yeah, but you got to do it in Spanish. I'm like, no. Just do chain of fools. If I get in trouble, just let me take it. Just do chain of fools. So here we are at the Tejano Music Awards fan fair. All the other bands are playing in Spanish,
Mm-hmm.
and Tejano at that. And, we're just there, we're like, you know what, we're going to bust out with some Aretha Franklin, because if you're not going to pay attention, I'm at least going to have a good time on stage.
This sounds like the scene out of the Blues Brothers when they're in the country bar.
It was. I mean, seriously, I've never had a real life experience like that, and I didn't think they really existed. But I mean, something in me just said, do it, and it was crazy because people actually started coming to the stage.
Yeah. Wow.
I was like, whoa, I could dig this. So we actually switched up anything Motown that I had or that was a little more poppy, even though it was in English, I just did it.
Yeah.
And,
that's kind of,
I remember going to...
That was the turning point, where you focused on the sound.
Yeah, it was just kind of really weird. And, for the next couple of months, we just added some into our set. We still predominantly did the whole Latin rock thing.
Mm-hmm.
And, so we were just like, okay, but, I still wasn't feeling it.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember in about June, we were scheduled to do the Shrimpery, and I got really sick, really sick. So I had to cancel. I had no voice, no nothing, and I was just sitting there, and I had 2 weeks of not being able to talk and just laying in bed. And I just remember saying, okay, I'm not happy. I got to change something.
Yeah. And
so at this point, my guys were really restless. We weren't having as many shows, because it's hard doing Latin rock in Corpus Christi.
Yeah.
It's not really the correct market for that.
Yeah.
So I started dabbling a little bit more in the blues again. I was like, let me go back to the blues. Let me go back to the basics.
Mm-hmm.
And we got some new guys, and we started doing, more blues, a little more blues rock, and a little bit of Motown. Not really so much of the soul. It was just more of the blues.
Mm-hmm.
And that seemed to start sparking some interest. We did that for a couple of years, and then, it just kind of rotated in and out of musicians. And during all this time, I had some really great experiences. I got to open up for Little Joey La Familia. If you don't know a lot about them, but, they're Grammy winners in their own right. They've just got a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, which is really cool. And I get to hobnob with a lot of really cool people, and all during this time, we still hadn't released my debut album.
Mm-hmm.
We've been toying around, what are we going to do on it? There's just so much, and I kept switching genres and doing different things, and so finally, here we are at 2008, and we're just like, we've got nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've been signed since 2005, and I've got nothing to show for it,
Mm-hmm.
but a whole slew of just different performances.
Yeah.
So February 2009, we finally got our act together, and the whole thing with the album, we were just kind of like, well, by this time I had added a little bit more Motown into my set, got a little more soul in there, and I was like, wow, I'm actually enjoying my shows now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it was fun.
Yeah.
And it was just hilarious because we were sitting there and we had all this stuff recorded from my very first single that was released to some other covers that I've done of just different, soul music.
Uh-huh.
And actually we had some more R&B-ish, kind of like, real R&B, with rapping and stuff on that we had recorded, and just stuff that I had written and co-written with different people. And we're just like, okay, well, we don't have enough of one genre to put on the album.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go back, let's find some more songs, and let's re-record. And me and Rick were just sitting there, and we just kind of said, you know what? let's just put them all in there. Let's just make it a mix. This is who you are. It tells a story of where I started from to where I'm at now. And so my debut album, we called it Latina Soul.
Yeah.
And it really just encompasses a lot of my journey from the Latin rock to the blues to the Motown to the R&B, and you know, even to a cut on there that I co-wrote. It's called Not Going Nowhere, and that's, you know, based on my own personal experiences. And so, you know, we started to delve a little bit deeper in the songwriting, which is kind of cool. Scary, but cool. And so we released it in 2009. And I was like, okay, you know, we're going to just see how this works. You know, so you go and you throw spaghetti at the wall. And it was really cool because we actually did a Spanish version of Some Kind of Wonderful, Old Grand Funk Railroad. And we actually got a translator to come in here translate it for us. And the Spanish version is called Maravilloso. Well, you know, like every record label, they just send it out to everybody and all the mobile DJs. And it was really cool because within the first month, it was already in the top, you know, 25 of the most downloaded songs by DJs. And I was like, whoa, that's kind of cool. And so we checked it out. That was an official single. We put it out there, and we actually got a really good response. So, you know, after the album, you know, you put it out, and if it just doesn't move as fast as you want it to, it just kind of stays there, and it kind of just, nothing really happens with it. It's just there. It's cool. And it started selling at the shows. By this point, I'd really just made up my mind. I said, you know what, I need to go more soul, more Motown, go back to my roots. And everybody would make fun of me because they're like, you know, what do you know? You were born in 83. And like, well, I don't know anything about Michael Jackson. I don't know anything about the 80s music, but I know about my 60s and I know about my Motown. And, you know, so we started doing more of that in our live shows. And around that time, I actually went out and I watched one of my friends' bands. And, you know, I'd been wanting to see her band for a long time, and it was another level. And everybody's been telling me, you know, wow, she's an awesome MC, and you really just have to see how she works the mic. And everybody kept telling me that. So finally, you know, I went and I checked them out, and I was like, wow, I mean, you would just watch her, and the people were eating out of the palm of her hand. And she wasn't a front person, she was the drummer. And I was like, oh my God, like, how can you do that? And I still not perfected my whole stage presence. I mean, I was talking a little bit more, but I wasn't really engaging anybody. And so I started watching her, and, you know, we started hanging out, and, you know, and I just told her, I was like, man, you know, I just want to feel what you do. And she's like, you know what? Do it. Feel it, make it your own. And she just started saying, you know, just listen to the music, listen to the words that you're singing, and you know, just talk. Just come whatever comes out to you. Don't try and rehearse it. Just whatever comes to you. And so I started doing that, and I was like, wow, you know, I'm getting pretty good at this. Because I would notice people wouldn't just clap after a song. They were still engaged. And I was like, wow, this is what we've been missing, the connection.
And that's
and
having been in some of your shows, it's definitely something that's really evident in the show.
Wow, thank you. And so, you know, from there, it's really just been a growing experience. And come 2010, you know, the album really didn't move much. It just did what it was supposed to do. It put it out there, and that was it. Well, I had really thought, I was like, okay, you know, it's been 6 months, nothing major's happened with it. Let's just start moving on, thinking about the future. And I believe it was in March of 2010. We were getting ready for the Tejano Music Awards again, and I had actually been nominated for an industry award for a brand new female artist. I was like, wow, that's really cool. And it was from the album, which, you know, actually had more weight on it. I didn't win, but just the nomination, I was like, wow, that's really cool. And it was just an eye-opener. I was like, okay.
Yeah, it got noticed. I mean, that's the thing. That's awesome.
Yeah, it got a little bit of attention, and I didn't really know how much it got until that following November. I just so happened to just Google myself. I was watching a movie, and it was just talking about, oh, you just probably Google yourself. And I was like, you know what? I've never Googled myself. That's really cool. So I went and I Googled myself, and up like in the top 10 I see my name on iTunes, and of course, you know, the record label had put me on iTunes and Amazon, and just really worked the album the way that they, you know, thought it needed to be worked.
Yeah.
And I had no clue, but I had actually started to chart overseas.
Wow.
And so here I am, I'm looking at these charts, and I'm just like, whoa, and a single that we hadn't even released, it would, you know, of course on iTunes you put the whole album on there, and one of them, it was called Voodoo Woman, and it's a cover of an old Coco Taylor blues song. And it was actually, it charted up to number 36 on their blues chart.
Wow.
And I was like, whoa, and I was like, this is really cool. And around that time, Rick had actually had an acquaintance that worked the European market, because it was over in the European area. And it was kind of crazy, because Rick had just had this contact that he used years and years and years ago, and they hadn't spoken for a long time. And just out of the blue, this guy had called him. Said, hey, you know, would you have any new artists that you're trying to push and stuff like that? So Rick sends him my album and says, hey, you know what, I've got this girl. I've been working with her. This is what we did. And, you know, he has his own promotional company in France. And so he took a listen to it, and he said, yeah, let me see what I can do with this. So he starts shopping it around, and, you know, through this whole time, we're just like, okay, well, then he starts sending us original songs, just, you know, hey, you know, check this out. Maybe you guys can record this. And we just started just him helping get original material from overseas. You know, by 2011, I'm sitting there in New Orleans, Louisiana, and I actually got to, you know, be at the New Orleans Jazz Festival.
Yeah, I saw that picture of you and Aaron Neville.
Yeah, that was like really, really cool. And that was on him. Like, he was just like, yeah, you know, come here and introduce you to some people. And I mean, it was amazing, you know. Got to perform, which was just awesome. Because if you really know anything about the New Orleans Jazz Festival, I mean, it's pretty much impossible for any, you know, small band to get in there. You got to actually either know somebody or be somebody. And so that was a really neat experience. And from then, it was just kind of like, okay, wow, this is kind of starting to garner a little bit. And there we are. We released the album in 2009, and in 2011, it was a lot stronger. You know, about that time, we actually started to work on some more material, started to record some new songs and get back in the studio, which we're still in the studio. I've learned I'm really picky when it comes to music. But, you know, it's definitely been a roller coaster. And, you know, the show has improved so much from when I first came out on my own in 2005 to where it's at now. Before I could actually say we were just a band that played a whole bunch of covers, and now I can say we're a band that has a show.
So where can we catch you around the area, your live performances? What are some of the venues that you guys frequent?
One of our most favorite venues, and we frequent this one quite a bit, is the Seawall Food and Spirits. It's right there off of Ocean Drive, so it's got a beautiful view of the beach. It's awesome. But then, of course, you can also catch us at a lot of your favorite festivals. In fact, you know, we'll be doing the Rockport Music Festival. And I'm really excited about that, because we are going to be opening up for, of course, an awesome blues artist, Marsha Ball, which I'm so stoked about that, because she's awesome. And after her set, we're actually going to come back on the stage and do a 30-minute opening set for Los Lobos.
I know that's going to be
awesome. It's going to be so incredible. I'm so excited about it. And it was kind of weird how that happened, because not many people know this, but back in March, I went and I auditioned for the X Factor. And I made it to the second round. And it was, you know, it's kind of disheartening. I mean, you get a little upset, you know, when you don't move on. And I did for probably about, I don't know, an hour on my way back from Austin. And I was like, okay, you know, well, I came home and I did the show that night at the Seawall, and the next night we were over in Fulton, and I was, you know, I had to have like a real one-on-one with God. And I was just like, you know what, there has to be a door opening, you know, for the next chapter. There, you know, I just feel it. And so there we are. We're just, you know, playing there at the Sugar Shack in Fulton, and I, you know, I'm just like, okay, it'll just be like another night, you know, just a lot of drunk people having a good time, and you know, they're gonna enjoy the music, and we're gonna have a good show, and that's it. well, halfway through the show, and I'm still kind of bummed out, and, this guy comes up to me and says, hey, and I said, oh, hey, and I'm just thinking, okay, here's another drunk guy talking to me. It happens all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so he tells me, he goes, how would you like to open up for Los Lobos? And I was like, what? He was like, yeah. And I was like, oh, that would be great. Just let me know who I have to talk to, and I was like, oh, well, you're talking to him. And he said, I'm booking, we're bringing him down, and he goes, and I want you to open for them. And I was like, what? And I really just thought he was just, just full of it.
Yeah.
And so I brushed him off, and I said, well, here's my manager, Deborah, and just give her all the details, and she'll work it out with you.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, and I didn't think twice about it. And then about a week later, he called me up, and I don't know how he got my number, but he called me and he said, hey, I want to know, are you really serious about this? Do you really want to open for them? We're going to do a festival here in Rockport. It's our second annual, and they're headlining it. We want you to open.
Yeah.
I was like, wow. And it was just amazing because you start seeing, it's like, wow, I didn't make the X Factor, which means if I would have, then I would not have been here for the show. Right. And if I wouldn't have been here for the show, I don't get to open up for Los Lobos. So it's kind of just like you see the chain reaction in it, and it's just like, wow.
Yeah. And who knows what that next reaction is, right? you know what happens?
Yeah.
What's the next chain of events? Never know.
Yeah, so it's pretty exciting, and I've gotten the chance to share the stage with a lot of really awesome people and a lot of awesome artists, and this by far is going to be like our biggest show to date, and super excited about it. I just can't wait to show pictures and video footage to everybody because I'm actually getting a lot better at my social media. So we have a lot of pictures and videos from our shows and stuff, and this past April we headlined Fiesta in San Antonio, which is a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
It's just awesome. So things just, you start seeing, once you start changing things and you're feeling what you're doing versus just going through the motions. Yeah. Like when I first started, it's such a big difference because there's a connection not only with you and the people, but you and the music.
Yeah. And
when you feel the music as an artist, it's so much easier because when you start relaying to your audience, it's just like, it's a big old connection. It then becomes a circle, and it's awesome. It's an awesome feeling.
It feeds off each other. Yeah. Well, Hilda, it has been an honor and a privilege to speak with you. Thank you so much for sharing your story. We really look forward to seeing what's to come in the future for you and for your band. And just really wish you the very best.
Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule, David, just to sit here and talk with me. I really appreciate it, and I can't wait to see you guys at one of my shows.
You bet, and I'm definitely making plans to go to Rockport. That's going to be a great show.
Awesome. I look forward to seeing you.
We hope you enjoyed this inaugural edition of SocialBiteCC.com's Entertainment Edition podcast. Special thanks to Hilda Lamas. You can check her out at www.hildalamas.com. Make sure you follow her on Facebook and Twitter. And while you're at it, make sure you check out the new organization she's heading, the Corpus Christi Music Society, a great new advocate for entertainers of all genres that is focused on building up and growing live music in Corpus Christi and the surrounding area. We'd also like to thank our program sponsor, Advanced Temporaries, Inc., your partner in staffing, at 361-855-5627 or at www.advtemp.com. To Outside the Box, a marketing and promotional specialty company. If you need to get your name, your logo, your information out, get a hold of Kathy or Jeff at OTB, or you can find them at www.otbforyou.com or call 361-906-0216. And a special thanks to our associate producers, Imagine Support Services, training, advocacy, and support for your loved one with special needs. Call them at 361-851-0311 or visit them on the web at www.imaginesupports.com. That's 361-851-0311 or on the web at www.imaginesupports.com. And that's Imagine without the letter I. Again, thank you all for checking us out. Remember, you are our network. Like and share us on Facebook. Follow and retweet us on Twitter. Help us get the word out. Until next time, friends, God bless you and our very best and warmest regards.